everyone, my name is Evgeniia, and in this video I would like to share my language learning story and some tips. I speak 5 languages, which are Russian, which is my native language, then I'm fluent in English and Spanish. I have a B2 level of French, and I speak some Arabic, approximately B1. Sometimes I get questions on how I managed to learn all of those languages, and people assume that I lived in a Spanish-speaking country or a French-speaking country. I moved to Dubai 2.5 years ago, and before that I lived in Russia, so I didn't have any exposure to the Spanish-speaking world or the French-speaking world. And if I had to answer in one sentence, it would be something like, I just studied at home, but I did that very consistently. But before I start the actual story and start sharing my tips, I really want to say that I'm super happy that I learned the majority of what I did while I was still at school, because now with the university and work and everything else, I obviously wouldn't have that much time for just studying languages. So let's start. Obviously Russian is my native language, so let's get it out of the picture. So the first language was English. I had classes at school when I was like 7 years old, and I also had a private tutor because my parents were convinced that English was a super useful tool. But honestly, I just hated every single lesson. It was so boring to me, and I didn't see the point in learning English at all. But then I think as I grew older, when traveling with my family, I saw that English could actually be very useful in terms of just, talking to people, making friends, and stuff like that. And I suggested that maybe we could, change the school where I was learning English. So we did that, and I finally fell in love with the language because I had like a super cool tutor, very interesting classes. We did a lot of just activities for teenagers so that they can learn English in a more fun way. And then when I was like maybe 12 years old, I got obsessed with learning English. I spent literally every single minute of my free time either googling some definitions of words, or learning new vocabulary, or watching YouTube in English, or doing grammar exercises. I think I spent at least 2 hours every day when I was like 12 to 14 or 15 learning English. I watched Netflix, I practiced speaking, I did everything there is, everything you can imagine to improve my English, because I figured that by that time already, I figured that I wanted to study abroad, work abroad, to have a career abroad, not just in Russia, but I wanted to have full flexibility and ability to live anywhere in the world. And I saw that English was like a must. Now let's talk about Spanish. That was a very interesting story actually. When I was 14, I figured I wanted to study hospitality. I found a university in Spain, and to prove to my parents that I was actually serious about that, I decided to learn Spanish. And I had the goal of achieving like a B2, like a solid level, in 1 year. And an important note here is that I didn't have any tutors. I started with buying an online course. It was something like go from 0 to A2 or A1. I think it was at A1 level. I did that for about a month. So this set like a foundation for me to understand the basics of like grammar and some vocabulary. And after that, I just found a few textbooks, like grammar and general textbooks for general language, like grammar, vocabulary, stuff like that. And I spent an hour every single day basically just going through those textbooks. Like during that year, I actually did achieve something of B2 level. I didn't pass any test, but I was definitely kind of confident speaking Spanish, and I could talk about basically anything. I think the key here was just my consistency, because that was it was a challenge, and I decided that I needed to learn Spanish to a certain level in a year. So I just went all in, and yeah, During my teenage years, I spent a lot of time learning languages. I think that was almost my only, almost the only thing that I would do in my free time. Sometimes when I figured that I didn't do anything during the day and I didn't like achieve my language learning goals for the day, I would spend time during the night. I would stay awake until like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. and I would sit in the kitchen and go through all of my textbooks, vocabulary lists, and all of that. That was kind of crazy, and my family was like, "Are you okay?" But I don't regret doing that at all. Later on, I would be studying Spanish as part of my IPDP, and I had Spanish HL, and after that, I passed the C1 examination, so I officially have a C1 level in Spanish. Unfortunately, I don't practice it that much now, but every single time I see a Spanish-speaking person, I try to start talking to them. They're usually impressed, because I live in Dubai and there are not so many people who speak Spanish in Dubai, but I have some neighbors here, and every time I see him, we try to, speak Spanish, because I know that it's nice for them because they see that a foreign person is speaking in their native language, and it's also very beneficial to me because I can practice at least sometimes. Also, to keep my Spanish alive, I watch Alexandra Pereira's vlogs every single week. If you don't know her, she is an influencer, fashion lifestyle influencer. I love all of her vlogs. She used to live in Dubai, and we even met at Waitrose a couple of times. I love her family, her videos. She's just, like a very, very nice person. And her vlogs are usually like 40 to 60 minutes long, which makes it easier for me to not forget Spanish. I'm really, really happy that I don't know how I kept going so, consistently over such a long period of time, especially taking into consideration the next part of the story, my French learning journey, which started in a very similar way. I said that I started learning Spanish because I wanted to study in Spain, but then guess what? I decided I wanted to study hospitality in Switzerland, in a French part. And again, to prove my seriousness about this to my parents, I decided to learn French. I decided to start again with an online course. I found one. I achieved like an A1 level again during the first month, and then I found some grammar books and just vocabulary lists to keep going. At some point, I started taking French classes with the same tutor over like 3 month period of time. But at that time, I was already like 17, I think, and I was in high school, and I didn't have that much time for French as I did for English or Spanish. And at some point, I just decided that would be really, really helpful if I had someone who would, structure everything for me. Because with Spanish, I mostly taught myself. So I would create like a study plan for myself. I would learn everything there is about every single, tense, every single grammar rule, and I figured that it was very, very time consuming. I think in my last year of high school, I approximately in like March or April, I decided that I didn't want to go to Switzerland. I wanted to go to Dubai. And at that time, we just decided to register for the French test. Me and my tutor, because obviously I didn't have any, specific any goal anymore for learning French, because I didn't need it for my university and for living in Switzerland. So we just decided to register for the B2 test, so I can pass it and I can like have an official, certificate, and that would be my goal. And by the time I was done with high school, I was actually kind of done with learning French, so I stopped that process. And now let's talk about Arabic. This is a completely different story, because when you learn European languages, they are very similar to each other. Since I already knew English and Spanish. French was kind of easier to me because there are so many, Latin words that they look very similar. You can understand them, and even if you don't know some kind of a word in French, you can, in the majority of cases, you can guess it if you know some other languages, European languages. With Arabic, it's a completely different story. At this time, I think it's my 5th year of trying to learn Arabic. I am definitely not as consistent with it as I was with English or Spanish, because again, at that time I was a teenager. I had no university, I didn't work, I didn't do anything except for my studies and like my hobbies like dancing and stuff like that. So I had a lot more free time, and I could practice languages. That was really what I would usually do when I got back home from school. So I didn't do almost anything else. But now obviously things are very different, and I know that when living in Dubai you don't actually need Arabic, so there's not so much necessity for me to learn it. I obviously really want to achieve very like high level in Arabic. I want to be fluent in it, but now it's simply not my priority because I have some other things that are more important to me at this point. But how it started, it was actually 2020. I first came to Dubai for holidays with my family, and I was so impressed by everything that's going on here. I decided I wanted to learn Arabic. I was like mesmerized by this, Arabian atmosphere and everything, and I wanted to learn the language. And I was like, you know what? I can learn a language to a B2 level in a year. Like, let's do it. Let's go. I can learn Arabic as fast as I did like learn Spanish. I was so wrong because I remember downloading some Arabic learning apps when we were at the beach in Dubai in 2020. I realized very quickly that was not gonna go so fast. I think in the first week I bought again an online course by a Russian speaking lady who was teaching how to learn to write and read in Arabic. That was very helpful, and I did learn how to read and write in Arabic in like 1 week, which I thought would be a lot more difficult because obviously Arabian Arabic writing is a lot. It's completely different from any European language or Russian language. But yes, I learned that very quickly, and then I found a YouTube channel. I can leave the link in the description, where I started learning Arabic. There's a channel where the person who's teaching goes through every single chapter of Medina book 1, 2, and 3. I think I have completed the first 2 books now, but I must say that I was never really consistent with Arabic. There were some months when I would be very consistent and learning Arabic every single day, like at least 1 hour, dedicating 1 hour every single day. But again, that was during high school and mostly during the summer, because during the academic year I was simply like dead every single day. I had so many subjects, so many languages, so many like activities. I just simply didn't have time for Arabic. But I still hope I can. I'm trying to dedicate some time during the week to at least not forget what I've already learned. I really hope I can improve my Arabic in the future, but now this is how it is basically. So yeah, that was my story. Again, I'm really happy that I could stay so focused during several years and learn all of those languages. But now I would like to share some tips for anyone who's trying to learn foreign language. First of all, obviously I think it's clear now that the first tip that I would give is simply to make this language your priority and be very consistent with it. If you cannot dedicate 1 hour every single day, try like allocating at least 2 or 3 30-minute slots during the week. Maybe like block them in your calendar, or just know that you need to spend at least like 30 minutes twice a week learning this language. Because the again, like the key here is being focused and being consistent. And if you spend some time every single day or every single week, then in a month or in a year you will see a lot of progress. But if you have like you know some periods when you do nothing, and then some periods when you spend like 5 hours a day learning the language, probably in a year you will have even less progress. So that's tip number one. Then tip number two is try to consume content in the language that you are learning. So when I was preparing for my French exam, I didn't have much time. I think we only allocated like 2 months for me to go from B1 to B2, and obviously I had to do a lot during that time. And my teacher told me to watch YouTube videos, listen to podcasts, even if I didn't specifically try to understand every single word. So for example, I was at the gym, or I was, I don't know, cooking something, you know, doing my skincare routine, I don't know, just having something on the background in French would help me so much. Like when you get used to listening something in the language that you're learning, it makes things a lot easier for you. Like you just get used to the language, even if you're not trying to actively, like proactively listen to it and learn new words. This actually helps. So yes, try to watch vlogs in this language, try to listen to podcasts, listen to music, watch films, whatever works for you. Then the next part is speaking. Obviously you need to practice a lot, and again, I'm not even talking about like the don't be shy thing. Obviously you don't have to be shy, because if you're afraid that someone is gonna think that you are making mistakes in the foreign language that you're learning, just, I don't know, like I just honestly don't care about that. And people usually don't say anything bad about someone trying to learn a foreign language. Like they just encourage you, they tell you to keep going, they tell you that you're doing so well. Like I've never seen someone say anything bad about my language skills, even if I was just starting. I remember once going to Spain with my mom when my Spanish was at I don't know, like A1, A2 to B1 level, and I decided to talk to a Spanish couple on the plane. I I was so, you know, I was so happy that I could find someone who I could talk to in Spanish. I definitely made so many mistakes, because again, my Spanish was not like, I was not fluent by any means, but I started talking to them about traveling, about the weather, about, I don't know, like restaurants, because they were from the city where I was going. They were so, you know, open and so kind to me. They were like, keep going, you're doing so well. My mom was shocked, because my mom never heard me like speak Spanish for such a long time to someone, and she knew that I only spent like a few months learning it. She was like, what was that? But yeah, the key point here is just to start speaking and start practicing, and that's the only way you can actually improve your language skills. And I think the final tip is more of a technicality. If you're trying to learn new vocabulary, try to actually write the words by hand, because when you're typing it on your phone, it's completely different. And at least try to type it, because some people just look at the words and they try to memorize them. This takes a lot more time, and it's not that efficient than if you actually try to write the words, if you try to create sentences with words. What actually really helped me was Quizlet. It's an app where you can learn vocabulary using flashcards. You can add pictures to the words that you're learning. It does require some time to create all of those vocabulary lists, but I think it's definitely worth it. I used it for English and Spanish and French and even Arabic in the beginning, So yeah, I was a very active user of Quizlet. Again, Quizlet, if you can sponsor me, please do. So yeah, I think that was pretty much everything that I wanted to share. Uh, if I had to summarize this video, which I think turned out to be very long, in one sentence, I would just simply say, like, guys, if you really want to learn something, then you have to make it your priority and you have to dedicate a lot of time for that. And yeah, just try to be consistent. There is no like magic pill, but it's definitely worth it. Thank you so much. Bye.